Good afternoon, YouTube, and a lovely, sunny, warm welcome to the Life's Good. Hope you guys are okay. We're fine. We've just been extremely busy for a few weeks. Lots going on. The last couple of weekends I've been helping a friend of mine, and he's in fact a near neighbour as well, with a bit of a garden clear and shed build. And that's taken up 2 weekends. Still not finished, and I'll show you a few pictures of that in a moment. I'll just put a few clips together and let you see what we've been up to in the back of his garden the last couple of weekends. The bike club meetings and so on has gotten very busy since some of the government restrictions have been lifted on sort of getting together and socialising and so on. So a lot of the clubs are opening up and arranging various meetings and rides and so on and so forth. And as the secretary of my club, I've become very busy in the evenings, both administratively and actually participating in some of these events. So AJ's time has been very limited, I must admit. Very pleasant, I must admit. It's been very good. I'm enjoying the biking aspect and everything else. As far as my garden is concerned, my time here has been extremely limited. I've done a few things, and I will take you around in a moment and show you what's going on. Cheryl at the moment is in the kitchen preparing some of her famous beetroot relish. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a tickle. She's harvested some of our beetroot this morning. She's boiled them and skinned them, let them cool down, and she's now making up some relish and putting it in jars. So we'll pop in and see her, and she'll explain a little bit about what she does to make that relish, and it is particularly lovely with cold meats and cheeses and things like that. So we'll do that in a moment as well. Whilst I was helping my friend with his garden clearance, we came across a small box, and in that box was an assortment of bits and pieces, and there were 3 horseshoes. Why there were 3, I don't know. Most horses have 4 feet, I seem to remember. However, one of the horseshoes was a small one, and he allowed me to take it away. He said I could have it, and I've cleaned it up. It was a bit rusty and a bit messy, but I've cleaned it up and I've painted it black, and I fully intend putting this on the front of my shed, my little workshop shed. So a nice little ornamental horseshoe there. It has been worn. It's quite worn at the bottom end here, the heel of the shoe. Although when they put these on, is that not the front of the shoe? I'll have to check that up. But it's been worn. It is worn out. But a nice little ornament to go on my shed. So we'll be putting that up in a little while as well. Right guys, well I'm going to lift you off. We'll go and see what Cheryl's up to. And then I'll take you down on the plot and we'll have a look at a few things down there. Well, we just come in to pester Cheryl, guys. She's making that relish I just mentioned. What is it you said you used, Cheryl? You've used how many beetroot?
There's about 5 beetroots in here.
And how many onion?
Which I boiled. I got out of the garden and boiled.
Right.
And then I peeled them with my rubber gloves on because the dye's quite strong, I think.
They stain your fingers red, don't they?
Don't they just?
Yes. So we got 5 boiled beetroot, a couple of red onions, medium-sized onions, and you've basically shredded and grated all of that.
Yeah, you can shred the beetroot, or you can do it in chunks. But I prefer to shred it.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can put chunks of onion in, or you can just shred it. So it's entirely up to yourself.
So all that's in the bowl, and you're going to mix it all together.
I'm going to mix it all together. It just depends on your own taste, you see. If you like a lot of onion, put more onion in. If you don't bother, but you can put chives in.
And what's that you're adding there?
Balsamic vinegar.
Balsamic vinegar.
You can put chives in. You can
you're
put
not
spring onion.
Right. You're not measuring that onion vinegar.
No.
You just plug it in until it's what? Just a bit of some sort of consistency.
Wet. Just until it's wet.
And you were saying you could, instead of using onions, you can use chives or spring onion. Or both.
Put more in.
Okay.
Just taste it as you go.
Right.
Because it's whatever you like it to be.
Right, so you make it to your own taste.
Oh, can you pass us a bit of sugar out?
Bit of sugar, of course. So how much sugar are you putting in?
Oh, about a teaspoon of pulling.
Oh, dropping everything out of the cupboard. There you go, darling.
Thank you.
So you add a bit of sugar just to take the edge off the vinegar and give it a bit of sweetness.
Yeah.
Fine. So once you've got that mixed up, you just shove it in some sterilised jars.
You can actually use sweetener if you wanted to.
Instead of sugar.
Instead of sugar.
Good.
So you don't have to.
And this you just put into some sterilised jars and keep it in the fridge.
You can keep it in the fridge, you can keep it for 10 days, but with you it's about a week because you eat it all.
I love it. It's nice on sandwiches, with salad, cheeses.
Actually, we had jacketed the other night with a bit of this on the side. It was lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah. Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, 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 sorry.
It's alright. I'm just going to tweak the camera a bit because we're actually chopping the top off your head there, Cheryl.
Oh, lovely. I've
Now
had my
everybody
hair
can see
done,
your
by the
lovely new
way.
hairdo. Yes,
Yesterday.
exactly. Got your hair done yesterday. It looks lovely.
Thank you.
So you pop that in the jars. Do you press it down quite tight?
Nah.
No, just leave it loose.
Just pop it in.
Right. That's a Kilner jar, that one, isn't it?
It is.
And
Get
this
yourself
one,
some any jars from anywhere you like.
yep. This one's like a hinged lid.
It
with another
is.
seal.
And if you wanted to make something that people like vinegar or something, little gift, you can use it in a nice jar.
Put it in a nice jar and give it
Put
away
in
as
a
a
nice
gift. Yeah,
jar.
what a lovely idea.
See, so there's 2 jars.
Two
I probably could get another 2 those sizes, I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's Cheryl's beetroot relish.
So that's it. I don't even know where I got the recipe from.
No, that's
Can't
fine.
remember, but
Lovely. Well, we're looking forward to trying some of that later. Well, thank you for that, Cheryl. We're going to go and have a look down on the plot now. There's a few things to show the viewers.
yeah, very
So
well.
there's a lot going on
I'm
down
just
there.
going to crack on.
You crack on, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you in a little while. Okay.
Bye.
Whoops.
Oh, bye.
Ta-da.
Well, this is the runner beans that I was referring to next to the bike shed that don't seem to have done very well compared to the others. If you remember, I grew some beans in inner rolls from toilet tissue. So the cardboard inner tube I used, filled with compost, kept them all together in the greenhouse, planted the beans in, and they germinated and grew quite quickly. But it was very early in the season, and these are still sitting here no more than about just over a foot, maybe 14 inches up the canes. They're a little bit crisped as well. The leaves don't look particularly happy. The whole plants on the whole don't look particularly clever, and I've started referring to this as the sorry corner. It's looking a bit sad. They may grow. If I just point down here, there's actually a flower there. It's the only flower on these, but this is the extent of the growth. This is as far as they've gotten, and I think it must have been late March, April when I put them in here, so they haven't done very well at all. Now I'll whiz you around and show you the ones that I put in those containers adjacent to the shed.
in stark contrast to those earlier beans, the ones that I've grown against the shed have done fantastically. They've grown the height of the canes. They're hanging over from the top of the canes by another foot or more. Covered in foliage, they look healthy and green, and I am expecting to harvest a nice crop of green beans from these. But what a difference. These were sown and grown a lot later. So maybe that was the problem with the other ones. They were grown too early. They didn't like it. Maybe they had a cold snap on them. I don't know. They didn't grow very well. But these are, as I said, stark contrast. They're doing really, really well here against the shed. Looking down at the shallots quickly, you can see that these are drying off nicely. The foliage is all lying down and they are gradually drying off to a point where they're nearly ready to be pulled, separated, finally dried off in the sun, and then we will be preparing these for pickling. Seem to be doing a lot of pickling this year, or we did indeed last year, but we do like to pickle things to use during the winter months. Pickled onions is one of my favourites. Cheryl pickles our beetroot. She makes that relish that you've just seen. And we pickle eggs and all manner of things. Lovely to have in the evenings as a snack or a supper whilst watching the television. Taking a quick look at the potatoes that were growing in containers. I've got probably about I've got 9, 10, 11 containers with potatoes in. Now the foliage or the haulm on those are now starting to dry and wither and drop down. They're kept moist, the tubs are watered, they've had a lot of rain on them in the last week as well, but the haulm will eventually die down. They've had flower, the haulm is drying down, so these are sort of approaching now the time when I will probably be tipping a couple out and seeing what sort of yield I'm getting from these. So when I do empty the first one, I'll take you guys along and we'll do a little check and see what sort of quantity and weight of potatoes I get from each of these tubs. Some of the tubs of course are a lot bigger and they've got more potatoes in, but it will be interesting to see what they've come out like. They're mostly Desiree, although I did have a few Albert Bartlett, if I remember rightly, some Albert Bartlett potatoes that we purchased for use in the kitchen, but they weren't used and they sprouted, so I planted those. The peas have done really well this year. I've had an abundance of pea from here. Cheryl's been picking pods, shelling them and freezing the peas for the last couple of weeks now, and there's still lots of pods on here. I think I mentioned in a previous video that as they grow, the flowers start forming in the lower section of the plant and they form pea pods. And as they mature and grow, they're forming more pods on the top. So the lower ones are actually ready earlier than the ones further up the plant. So we've started harvesting all the bottom ones. We're working our way up the stems now. And as you can see, there's quite a few pods sitting on top of these plants, waiting for us to harvest over the coming days. You can see some of these are quite nice size, and just by giving them a little squeeze, I can tell there are actually some really good sized peas in there. So we've been picking them, freezing them, and using them fresh with dinner, and they're absolutely gorgeous, really sweet and lovely. I'm just trying to think of the name, the variety of these. I do believe it was Ambassador. So these peas are Ambassador peas. It's quite a traditional variety, and they've been very successful this year. This is an Amsterdam carrot. We've had a really good crop of carrots this year. Really pleased. As you can see, judging by the size of my hand, these are the smaller ones of the two varieties I'm growing. Further back here, from about this area back, is Autumn King. They are almost ready for pulling as well, and we've been using these in our dinners already this week, and they're absolutely delicious and a really strong carroty flavour. So Amsterdam at the front here and the Autumn King at the back, absolutely wonderful carrots, giving us a wonderful harvest.
So we're very pleased with those. The broad beans suffered a bit from some wind damage not long back. A few of them got snapped off and knocked down, but the last 2-3 nights I've been out here and I've managed to pick a few pods, and we had some broad beans with our dinner 2 nights ago. Absolutely wonderful. I've just pulled a pod and I'll just lift over to show you. I'm just opening this up now so that you can see the sort of size beans that we're, oops, I've dropped that one. You can see here, guys, that's the size bean that we're getting from these. Absolutely wonderful. Aqua Dolce, I think, was the variety that I grew. One of Wilkinson's seed range. But I'm getting 3, 4, 5 wonderful beans from each of these pods at the moment. So I'm very pleased with those. This is that small raised bed area that I created by removing that old shed that I had sitting here. And we have had a lot of salad from this year. You can see some of the Lolla Rossa is still there. It's quite tall, it's gone a bit leggy, it hasn't gone to seed just yet, and we are still using those leaves in our salads. In front of them there was some chard, which is now gone. We've used that all up. And right in front of the bed there was some radish, they've all gone. And what I'm doing now is I'm preparing this bed to receive some Cavolo Nero and a few other overwinter cabbages and broccoli and things like that. There won't be that many plants in there, but there will be enough to provide us with some greens and so on during the winter and into the early spring. Just a quick peep at the greenhouse. You can see a few Elsa Craig tomatoes, and they have flower on now, so I'm waiting for those to form fruits. I've got about half a dozen chilies, the cayenne chilies. In the front here, this is a small pot of basil. I've got a couple more pots further back. This makes the greenhouse smell absolutely wonderful, guys. I just like coming in sometimes, just knocking the leaves about with my hand, and the aroma from that is fantastic. I think that is one of my favourite garden aromas, alongside perhaps a really nice old English rose. Next to that there's some chilies. I got, as I said, the cayenne, and in the back I've got my Lolla Rossa, beg your pardon, my Cavolo Nero plants in tubs or containers or pots, and they're waiting to be planted out now, so I need to get a wriggle on and get those in the ground, and they will be providing us with greens, as I've already said, during the winter and spring months. One thing I am pleased about are my gherkins. Now, I did have 9 plants in there, and I said that if they do get too crowded I can always take one out. As it happens, they haven't grown particularly tall. They're about halfway up the mesh at the moment that I've designed for them, but they are covered in little yellow flowers, and if I take you in a bit closer you should be able to see behind those yellow flowers that they've actually got small cucumbers, or gherkin cucumbers, forming. There you go, you can see that one there. There's the yellow flower, and immediately behind it the small spiky gherkin growing, and there's quite a few on this plant already. I was trying to count them, but it's a bit difficult. There is at least a dozen gherkins already and lots more flowers forming, so this has become quite a success for me. I'm really pleased, so I'm looking forward to pickling again these little gherkins again for use during the darker winter months on burgers and salads and all manner of other things. I do like a gherkin, me. Well, as you can see from that quick whistle-stop tour, there's quite a lot of produce being harvested from the garden at the moment. There's quite a bit more down there as well. I've got garlic, we've got courgette and pumpkin, the rhubarb of course. The raspberries are just about over. Cheryl's been hastily gathering in the black currants as well this last few days. I think that's probably about the last of the fruit in that respect. There's a few strawberries coming on. Some of the strawberries are still in flower, so we expect a few more strawberries. Everything else is doing well.
as I said before, it's time that's the factor. Finding the time to get out and do things, and in fact making videos. It's been a bit difficult, guys. I just wanted to let you know we're okay, we're very busy, and that everything is doing really well on the plot. So hopefully in a couple of days I'll be able to do something a bit more constructive in terms of a video, and something a bit more interesting perhaps than just an overview of the plot. So whatever you're doing, you look after yourselves, stay safe, adhere to the government advice and guidance. I'm going to put my lucky horseshoe on the shed, and I think we'll be having something nice for dinner tonight with some of Cheryl's wonderful beetroot relish. So take care of yourselves. Don't forget to subscribe if you could. That would be lovely. That little red button in the corner, subscribe to the channel, and it'd be great to see you guys again. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye for now. Cheers.